What's up everybody, and thanks for joining Slav Guns. Now, in all honesty, I wasn't planning on making this video right at the moment, but a wrench got thrown and said, Jesus! I said at the situation, not at me, woman. Are you trying to kill me? See, this is what all Slavic wives do. Don't marry them, because they will try to kill you one way or the other. Thank you, baby. I love you. Comedic, I know. What's up everybody, and welcome back to Slav Guns. So, as some of you may know, a couple of months ago I was invited to go shoot at a private media event in Texas where I had an opportunity to take a look at the latest Ruger firearms in both 6.5 PRC and 300 PRC. Now, even though I've been a gun owner for about 11, 12 years and I've been shooting for about 15, and the vast majority of my guns are long guns. However, most of the shooting that I do is handguns. Handgun stuff like just matches, local matches, USPSA matches. Although from time to time I have enjoyed going to a long gun match, particularly the CMP vintage matches. As most of my guns, I love collecting old mil surplus rifles. And even though I usually shot at 300 yards or so, typically it's 200, 300, and most of the ranges around here are about 100 yards. So it was mind-blowing that when we got to Texas, here we are shooting these guns at 1,000 yards plus. What's plus? Well, 1,000 plus another 1,300 yards. Yeah, we were shooting guns at 2,300 yards, and we were hitting. And that is all I needed in order to be interested again in long-range shooting. And I've actually even sniffed out a couple of long ranges around here. So one of the things I was planning for the channel is a series on long range shooting. In particularly, what I wanted to focus on, I kind of had this mission, can you shoot 1,500 yards for 1,500 bucks? And then possibly doing 1,000 yards for 1,000 bucks. And the way we're going to accomplish that was by looking at a couple of the rifles and a couple of the rifle scopes that would fit into that package, and that would be a really good value for the money. Now, in the past, I've tried a couple of optics that I thought would be good fit in that value category, and I've been happy with them. In particularly, I'm talking about optics from Sightmark, such as the Wolfhound Prismatic Sight and the Rapid AR series. So when Sightmark announced that they have the Citadel 5-30 optic, with a MSRP right around, I believe, $600 and a street price of right around $450 to $500, I really thought that this was going to be a winner and that this was going to be a shoo-in for that budget optic series. Even put it ahead of the Nikons that I own. But then I got to the range and that was the wrench that was thrown in. So for that reason, instead of waiting for the rest of the series, I wanted to do a video on this optic in case any of you have questions on it before we officially dive in with the choices that we made for that series. So this video is going to be on the Sightmark Citadel 5-30 optic. So what we have is the Sightmark Citadel 5-30x56 front focal plane scope. One of the things I was looking for in an optic is going to be something that's going to come with a front focal plane. And the reason why that's important is that particularly as you're shooting out at longer ranges, one of the things that's going to set these optics apart is that as you increase the magnification, the reticle is also going to increase as well. What that means is if you're using a Mil Dot or an MOA dot reticle, you can use it at range finding in any magnification. So if you have hash marks for 1 mil or half a mil, that is going to stay the same whether you're at 30 power or 30 power magnification on the scope. So that's one of the reasons why it's important, and we'll talk about that in the next video. So this scope does have a front focal plane. The magnification, as we discussed, is from 5 to 30. Starting at the back, basically in the back here, you have the adjustment, the diopter adjustment based on your sight, whether you're wearing glasses or not. And there's a fairly wide range here, which is pretty nice. The optic does come with the magnification switch view. I mean, there's a lot of different brands on them, but it's the quick grabby thingy for magnification adjustment. The scope does come with it, but one of the things I would mention is I think it was designed to come with it, because without it, it's going to be fairly difficult to move the magnification. Even though you do have serrations on top here, but it's still fairly tough. So this was, in a lot of the scopes, it's a good idea. I think in this scope, it's going to be fairly necessary. Moving forward, you do have a 30mm tube, which is going to be, obviously it's bigger than the 1-inch, but it's still going to be smaller than some of the higher end optics, such as the loophole we're looking at, which is going to come with a 35mm tube. And then you have, I believe, a couple of 34s and possibly 32s. Moving here, you're going to have your windage and elevation adjustments. Basically, they are locking turrets, so they go up and down, and then you can unscrew them and you can adjust. They are 1/10 mil, so this scope comes with the Mil Dot reticle, so it does come with a 1/10 mil click adjustment. And then on this side, you're going to have your parallax adjustment, and you are going to have the battery cap and the switch to turn on the illuminated reticle. This is partly where I start having issues with the scope. Unlike other Sightmark products I've looked at, the adjustments, particularly on the parallax, are going to be very difficult, and you can kind of see me struggling by the facial expressions, just even moving the parallax adjustment. And if it's this tough on this side, imagine how tough it is while you're behind the gun. I did find that I would have to move from outside of the gun in order to adjust the parallax, and that's typically not good, because very easily you're going to be able to lose sight of the target. And the same thing for turning on the illuminated reticle. It does take a little bit of force to do that. Moving forward, once again, you do have a 56mm front objective, so it is going to gather light fairly well. The scope is shockproof and fog-proof, and it does use multi-coated lenses on it. This scope comes with a couple of different reticle options, and I chose the Mil Dot reticle with the graduated lines. Typically, I've shot with the regular crosshair type reticles with the hash marks just on the two axes, but with this one, I wanted to see how it is and if it's going to make it a little bit easier to do the offsets if it's directly in line. One good feature about this scope, and I know it's really been an issue in the past, not as much of an issue today, is that you have both the reticle and the adjustments are on the same system. So you do have a Mil Dot reticle, and you do have Mil Dot adjustments. I've seen a couple of scopes that will have the Mil reticle, but they'll have MOA adjustment or vice versa. So that's the main features on the scope. It does not come with the rings, but you can use your own 30mm rings. I got these from Sightmark, and they're actually pretty nice. The only thing is, like I said, they use 6 torque screws on each one, so got more screwing to do. So that is the optic, and let's take a look at the range shooting footage, where I will give you my first impressions on there, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the conclusions.
So here's a tip if you forget your wrenches at home, but you need to adjust your turrets.
So the cool thing is, with these turrets, just use the rim of the case and you can unscrew it.
So once your scope is zeroed, what you need to do is remove the turrets, rotate them so that they're aligned back to the new zero, and put them back on.
There we go. Yeah. One of the things I'm noticing about the Sightmark reticle is that it is so freaking thin.
One of the issues I had while adjusting the turrets is that they'd have a tendency to press down and lock up.
Wow. Woohoo! Got that one. Wind is coming straight at us. Wow. Here. 2 and 2. It's insane. All right. I'd say the Howa is ready to go.
Sorry about the wind noise here. For some reason I accidentally deleted the audio on my audio recorder. So, we're listening to the audio from the camera with the microphone. One of the things I don't like with the scope is that the reticle adjustment is right there with the parallax adjustment. As you can see, I was trying to adjust the parallax but I accidentally was turning on and off the reticle. Yeah, the eye relief on the scope is definitely not the same.
Yeah, the group is pretty much there. We're just half mil to the right. Once again, these clicks, you can barely feel them at the range. So like at home, it wasn't bad, but here at the range, I don't even feel them. Scope-wise, honestly, with the Sightmark, it's okay. I'm not too impressed, honestly. I mean, it does give it the magnification. The glass quality is pretty good. It is possible I'm just spoiled by that loophole. But even like on this overcast day, it is not super bright. But the eye relief is not great. It really isn't. I am not too impressed with it. The one thing that's really noticeable is all of these adjustments are just very difficult to do. It's very difficult to move. So I mean, honestly, they should have like a lever on there. I mean, it's not even close to the Nikon, or I mean, I'm not at the same price point. I'm not even talking about the loophole that's right behind us. It would be tough for me to recommend it. All right, my OZ9 is going to be here soon. All right. So overall, I had very high expectations for the scope, probably because I had really good experiences with the Wolfhound and the Sightmark, but unfortunately, I was kind of let down. Now, don't get me wrong, I mean, $500 for a front focal plane scope, it is a good value. But when you're looking at it from outside of that long-range shooting world and outside of the optics race, $500 for most people, particularly if it's going to be likely your first scope, it's a lot of money. So in that light, it's very tough for me to recommend that scope. The scope is durable, I've had no malfunctions with it, and it does come with a lifetime warranty from Sightmark, which are all big pluses. And of course, the scope does what it's supposed to. The not so good, the reticle does its job, but I did have issues with it. I personally thought it was a little too thin, particularly on an overcast day when I was looking at black targets. That reticle line just kind of like blended into it, and I had issues even with glasses. Now generally I don't wear glasses, or I'll only wear glasses either at night, kind of to see street signs, or I will wear them during the daytime but tinted if I'm shooting long distance without an optic. So I'm only -1, so I don't need glasses. But even with or without glasses, I've had issues even playing with the optic. Other people might not have that issue. The other part is that the light transmission is good, but once again, the image was a little bit darker on an overcast day, so you're not going to get as many usable hours as you might get with a higher end scope. Now, the not so good or the bad part, the adjustments while they work, so I mean you can hear them, they are muted but they are notable, but there's very little, you hear the clicks but you don't necessarily feel them. When you get behind the gun and you're at the range, so even when I was at the range, I was the only one there, I had issues hearing the click with hearing protection, and I certainly didn't feel the clicks. They are pretty mushy. But you can adjust them, you didn't really have too many issues even if you're prone behind the gun. The parallax is tough. The parallax adjustment is very tough to move. And I'm sitting, well, I'm squatting besides the gun. When I was shooting behind the gun, trying to adjust the parallax was pretty much useless. You had to get off the gun and, I mean, by that I mean get off the target and get and adjust it. So if you had a lever, honestly, I wish they had one for the parallax because this gun needs it. If they fixed, so I mean, not even necessarily the adjustment, the parallax is the one thing that I guess would prevent me from really recommending that scope. Because for me, this is, I mean, being able to manipulate the scope without getting off the gun or without ruining your hands or getting that discomfort is going to be something that's required. And then, once again, this is an illuminated reticle. I left the battery on and it died. But when it works, it actually works pretty good. So that's a me fault. So that's the scope. Does it do its job? Yeah. Do I like it? It's okay. But do I like it enough to recommend it? Unfortunately, not. So that's the Sightmark Citadel 5-30x56 scope. I hope you enjoy this video, and I look forward to continuing, well, I guess starting the long range series with you shortly. And remember, I squat so you don't have to. So, as some of you may know, frickin' airplane. Pew, pew, pew. This gun is Why every time I do a video, there are frickin' airplanes over here? I mean, well, the airport's like 5 miles down from here, and that's part of the reason why we picked this house. Go. Go with the wind. All right. Think it's fast. The $500 presents a very attractive price point, particularly when you're dealing with front focal plane. Front focal plane. Plane. $500 presents a very attractive price point, particularly when you're dealing with front focal plane scopes. Got it that time. What's up, everybody, and thanks for joining Slav Guns. Now, in all honesty, I wasn't planning on making this video right now, but a French got thrown in the situation. Oui, parlez-vous en français? Oui, oui. Je ne sais pas. Okay. What's up, everybody, and thanks for joining Slav Guns. Now, in all honesty, I wasn't planning on making this video right now, but a wrench got thrown in the situation. Jesus! Alright.
This was good. You should have kept doing it.
Yeah.
Where you continue with the situation not happening.
Yeah, I know. It's
Stupid of you. This was actually a good throw.
Yes, director.
At the right time.
Uh-huh. That's making the outtakes. And remember, I squat so you don't have to. Till next time. All right.